All right, so move on to the next segment here. I'll be sharing my fight prediction for the co-main event of UFC 322 between Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili. So this is going to be an elite women's fight for fight fans that are looking forward to an absolute banger in the women's division. Well, you will see Valentina Shevchenko defend her flyweight championship against Zhang Weili in the co-main event of UFC 322. Now, let's get into the storylines for this big monumental women's fight taking place in the co-main event of UFC 322. Now, first storyline is this fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili will really determine who the number one pound-for-pound women's fighter truly is. Who is the queen of women's fighting inside the UFC world? Because however you have your women's pound-for-pound rankings, Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili have to be either in the 1 or 2 spot. There's no and ifs or doubts about it after Amanda Nunes has retired from the octagon 2 years ago, but she will be returning soon, possibly, to fight Kayla Harrison. But as I digress, you guys get my point. These two women have been jockeying for position to determine who's been the number one pound-for-pound fighter since Amanda Nunes has retired, and both of them have dominated at their own respective divisions. Valentina Shevchenko dominating at flyweight. Zhang Weili had a dominant run as the strawweight champion. Now she has vacated the strawweight title, moving up to the flyweight championship. The challenge for the flyweight championship. We're really going to determine who is the true number one women's pound-for-pound fighter in the world is once the UFC 322 co-main event fight is done, finished, and written in the chapter books. And final storyline is, can Zhang Weili become a 2-division world champion? Now, this is not going to be easy. And there's only been one woman to ever do that in women's UFC history, and that, of course, was Amanda Nunes, where she became a double champion, a double undisputed champion, the only woman to do that. But we'll see if Zhang Weili can become the second woman in UFC history to become a 2-division world champion. Like I just said a few moments ago, she did vacate the flyweight championship, or excuse me, the strawweight championship in order to move up to fight for the flyweight championship and get this opportunity against Valentina Shevchenko. Now we're going to see what these two women are all about and who is going to be crowned the number one women's pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC. But enough of the storylines. Let's get into the tail of the tape here. The tail of the tape here, starting off with the challenger, Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili is 26-3 in her MMA career. 11 victories come way of knockout, 8 submission victories. Stands at 5'4" with a reach of 63 inches. Then I'm looking at the champion, Valentina Shevchenko. She's 25-4-1 in her MMA career. 8 victories come way of knockout, 7 submission victories. Currently the reigning defending flyweight champion. Stands at 5'5" with a reach of 66 inches. So the height and the reach goes in favor of the champion, Valentina Shevchenko. We'll see if she uses the height and the reach to her advantage in the co-main event between herself and Zhang Weili. But let's get into the game plans that I have for these women to follow. They want to walk out of Madison Square Garden with that coveted flyweight championship. Starting off with the challenger, Zhang Weili. I think Zhang Weili should mix in the power shots against Valentina Shevchenko and catch her off guard. If she could possibly do this, she could be in line to possibly score a knockout victory. Time will tell. But the striking for Zhang Weili, that's her bread and butter. That's what's brought her to the dance. That's what's made her a dominant strawweight champion and a top 2 pound-for-pound women's fighter in the UFC today. I think she should blend in the fluid movement with the perfect striking in this fight against Valentina Shevchenko with some counter strikes. Try to win the counter as I get tongue-tied. Try to win the counter-punching battle against Valentina Shevchenko. Mix in the hooks and the jabs to catch her off guard and win the striking department. Mixing in the powerful shots. And we're going to see if her power will translate and move up to the flyweight division as she's moving up from strawweight. Next, for Zhang Weili, she should fight in different lateral movements. I think this is going to be very pivotal for her because she cannot be a sitting duck against Valentina Shevchenko that is a good striker in her own right. So I think she should fight in different lateral movements, move around swiftly in the octagon, move around and pick up the pace as the fight goes on. She's going to have to fight at a high tempo to catch Valentina Shevchenko off guard. And I think she should try to land the calf kicks, land in some leg kicks to soften up Valentina Shevchenko to make sure she doesn't move around the octagon the way as she wants to. This could be a way to soften her up with the leg kicks. And last but not least, I think Zhang Weili needs to be alert defensively. And I think if she could be alert defensively, she could be in good shape to possibly win the title here. And she cannot afford to make mistakes defensively. She cannot afford to be hit with the huge strikes or to be out grappled on the ground. She's got to be alert and be ready to stuff the takedowns of us, because Valentina Shevchenko is a really good grappler. And if she's not alert defensively, this could be, to some, a boring fight, because Valentina Shevchenko, she smells blood in the water. She knows she could get a rhythm with the wrestling and grappling, landing in the takedowns. It's over for Zhang Weili. So she's got to be focused and alert defensively. But if she follows these game plans, she could walk out the new flyweight champion in the co-main event of UFC 322. Now, for the champion, Valentina Shevchenko, I think she's got to tap into the grappling skills. That I think the grapple, it's debatable which one is more lethal for Valentina Shevchenko, the striking or the grappling, because she's elite at both. But I think she should trust the grappling skills here against Zhang Weili. Elite grappling skills. She's very creative on the ground and gain ground control to make Zhang Weili feel uncomfortable. She has a 63% takedown accuracy against her opponents in her MMA career. This would be a good strategy to rattle the challenger Zhang Weili, so to make sure Zhang Weili does not get going offensively, especially in the striking department, because the striking is her bread and butter inside the octagon. Next, I think Valentina Shevchenko should mix in the strong striking. I mean, she could do it all striking. She's got elite. I was about to call her elite kicker, but you could say she is an elite kicker, because the way her kick placements are, she's elite at it. I mean, she can land the powerful leg kicks anywhere. She can land it to the calves to soften up Zhang Weili if needed. She can land it to the body, to the sternum to slow down Zhang Weili. Or we've seen in the past with her landing a leg kick with her opponents coming in, and that's all she needs. One leg kick could end the fight. And honestly, when I was putting my prediction together for you guys, I don't know why. I'm not saying this is going to be my prediction, so hang tight. But I don't know why I was picturing Zhang Weili walking into a calf kick or a leg kick that Valentina Shevchenko would land to possibly win the fight by knockout. It could happen, but if she gets going, landing in the powerful leg kicks, never say never. So that's something that I think Valentina Shevchenko should do. And last but not least, Valentina Shevchenko needs to be alert defensively. If she could be alert defensively, she's going to be hard to hit. She already is hard to hit in the octagon, fights well in the distance. She's a good counter puncher when she's fighting in the distance. And the footwork is going to be on full display to get her out of situations against Zhang Weili, who is a powerful striker. So there's going to be a chess match. This is going to be a really exciting fight in the co-main event of UFC 322, but there must be a winner. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with Valentina Shevchenko to successfully retain her flyweight championship against Zhang Weili in the co-main event of UFC 322. Now, honestly, as stacked as the UFC 322 main card is going to be in New York City and Madison Square Garden, this fight could honestly steal the show. This is going to be a 50-50 fight. I think this is going to be a classic chess match between the top two women in the UFC today. No matter how you have your women's UFC pound-for-pound rankings, Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili got to be in the 1 and 2 spot. We're going to determine who is the queen of the UFC this weekend. This fight's going to tell it all. But I think Valentina Shevchenko, she's going to win this fight. She's going to be better minded defensively. And I think what I mean by that, better defensively minded, she's going to win the counter-striking battle. She's going to fight well in the distance. Honestly, I think the grappling and the wrestling skills are going to come into full display here. I know Zhang Weili is going to be alert defensively, but I know Valentina Shevchenko, once she can get going and having a rhythm in the wrestling, she's going to try to take down Zhang Weili as much as she can. She has a takedown percentage of 64%. She lands 64% of her takedowns that she shoots for. So I think she's going to find success. And if the fight is kept standing, I honestly want to say that Valentina Shevchenko, being at this division for so long, she's seen it all, and so has Zhang Weili. But there's levels to this, and I think if it gets to the striking, I honestly might have to pick Valentina Shevchenko to be the wild card here and win the counter-punching battle and be the better striker here. I trust her leg kicks. I think she could soften up Zhang Weili with the calf kicks, landing the body shots the calf kick, the leg kicks to the body, to the sternum, like I just touched upon, or the perfect scenario I just said. I can honestly see Zhang Weili coming in and getting caught with a picture-perfect leg kick that get Valentina Shevchenko the knockout victory. I can honestly see it, but I think this is going to decision, guys. Give me Valentina Shevchenko to become the successor, retain her flyweight championship against Zhang Weili in the co-main event of UFC 322.